got this story down pat. When I went into their home, Mr. and Mrs. Scaltrito, they were so nice. Of course, you know, the little bit of wine, which always makes it nice. I could not believe what I was hearing. This man was 91 years old. I'm sorry, I have to tell everybody that. I could not believe his memory. I could not believe it. The stories that he told me, all I was doing was taping it. So I decided to have it done again, but on video this time. So every place that I end up meeting him, whether it's at the Arts Center, and he's sitting there with 4 people, he tells these stories that you almost feel that you were there. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Scaltrito. The first question is your name and your age today.
Well, my name is Angelo Scaltrito, and my age is 92.
Yay!
God bless
you. Okay, you were born, and let's start off with where you were born.
I was born on First Road in Hammonton, New Jersey.
Very good.
I went to school there on First Road. They had a school right close by, a couple doors away, and I went there from first grade to 5th grade.
Do you remember any of your teachers?
I had Miss Santor, I had Miss Coast, I had Mrs. DiAgostino, and I had Mrs. Burgess. That's back in the 30s.
Okay.
And well, from there, when I graduated and I passed, I went to Hammonton, 6th grade, and used to walk back and forth from First Road to the Hammonton School. The bus wouldn't pick us up at that time because they had a marker there on 14th Street where the 2-mile marker, and anything beyond that they would pick up. Anything before that, you walked. So the bus would come by at that time. There was Nick or Dilly. They used to call him Fatty Nick. And he used to be the bus driver. And he would go all around 15th Street. 15th Street, he used to pick up the Bidiacles back here in Rosedale. He'd come around, we'd be walking, he'd pass us. We walked to school. Today I hear they're only 2 blocks away and they went right on the bus. So, that was the beginning then. I went to Hampton School. I went to 6th, 7th, and 8th, right there. And I remember the 6th grade teacher, Miss, I don't know, I forget her name. I know what, 7th grade was Mrs. Hatch. And the principal there in 8th grade was Mrs. Oakes. So I graduated 8th grade. From there, went on to high school, 9th grade. 9th grade, well, at the time, my father had a farm. So I went through 9th grade, but then my father took sick towards the end, and I had to drop out of school.
And you worked the farm?
I had to work the farm. My mother had to work the farm. So as years went by, then my father got better, well enough to work on a farm, so I helped him out. And I would get odd jobs away from, make a few dollars here, a few dollars there. And I worked with masonry, and before I got called into the service, I was working with Tony DeMarco, scooping cranberries. And Fuller Palmieri was our foreman there. And they had 2 gangs there. The gang was going a little faster, got 45 cents an hour. And the gang was a little slower, got 40 cents an hour. Well, I was lucky I was getting 45. Then it came time that I got called from Uncle Sam. And I remember Tony DeMarco telling me, he said, Angelo, he said, if you got to go to they call you to go, he said, you get in touch with me, he said, I'll keep you home. But that never materialized because I had other friends of mine that they were gone. So I figured, well, I guess I go too. My father wasn't too keen about it. He said, that time Dr. Esposito was at in Mays Landing at the board there. I forget what they call the board there.
Selective service.
Yeah, board. And so I went there the first time, and I got 1A. So I went back home. My father said, how'd you make out? I said, I guess they want me to go. So he said, why don't you write to him? He said, tell him that I need you here. And maybe they'll let you stay home. So I sat down and wrote a letter to the board, draft board. About 4 or 5 days later, I got another card, 1A. So I figured, no choice, I gotta go. I told my father there. He said, well, if you gotta go, you go. But they were keen about it. Now, some of the friends that left, I was supposed to leave with them, but then I got cold feet, and I stayed back. But then I got another letter from the government. Now, I had no choice, I had to go. So I happened to see my cousin, Angelo. I told him, I said, hey, Ange, I said, you gonna enlist? He said, I'm thinking about it. I said, how about if we get together? I said, we'll go to Philly to the custom house, I think it is in Philly. I said, and we'll enlist there. So we got on a train one day, we went there. And sure enough, that's what happened. We enlisted.
In what? What did you enlist in?
Well, all we know is we enlisted in the Army there. So they said, well, go back home and we'll send for you. So by doing that, I got about 2 more weeks at home to stay at home. So they finally got the notice, and we went to Philadelphia, went to the custom house there. When we got there was about 25 others in there. So they told us, raise your hands. You raise your hands, you swear you're in the Army now. What are you going to do? Now, that was in the afternoon. They marched us to the railroad station, put us on a train, and we wind up in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. We got there, nighttime was dark. We got there, they told us, everybody fall out, get in line, we'll call your names out, and we're going to show you where you're going to stay for the night. So they started calling names. Scaltrito, upstairs in that barracks. So, who went here, who went there? I went upstairs. They gave me a cot, 2 blankets, and the clothes I had on. So, that night, I didn't do any sleeping at all. So, I laid there, I threw the blankets over me, and I stayed there. About 6 o'clock in the morning, coming up the stairway. They flipped the light on. I don't know whether I should say this. but I'll tell you, because I didn't like it either. One of the sergeants come up there, after he put the light on, he come upstairs. He said, "Get up, about you bunch of bastards, you're in the army now." Now, I said to myself, what the hell did I get myself into? Anyway, that morning we fell out there. They told us to fall out back. They got us our names. They sent us back in, shave, wash. They brought us for mess hall there. We had breakfast. Back again. And we were there for 4 days. In 4 days, the next day they gave us our clothing. They asked you what size, and they throw things to you. They gave me an overcoat. Look, I look like Santa Claus. Anyway, the next morning, they said we're falling out for getting our shots. So, all right. So they walked us to the barracks there, and there's a big line, and there's a doorway there, and you walk through the doorway. Well, you don't know what you're going to get into until you get to the doorway. So they tell you take your jackets off, shirt off. You walk through the doorway. One guy hits you with a needle one side, another guy hits you on the other side. The next morning I was walking around like this. So I stayed there, I think 5 to 6 days. All we knew were in the Army. That's all. Well, it was after 5 days, they told us to get our barracks bags, and we're falling out. They take us to the train station. We get on a train, and off we go. Where we going, nobody knows. You ask everybody, nobody knows anything. We got, I don't know, it was about close to 12 o'clock. We wound up in Chicago. There the train stopped. They took us off and brought us in for get something to eat. We were there about an hour and a half, I guess. Back on our train, and where we're going. Nobody knows where we're going. We're in the Army. Nobody knows where we're going. You ask this guy, you ask the guy, hey, I don't know. We had enlisted for the Air Force. Now, we weren't sure, we don't know. So we're on a train. We get to Fort Knox, Kentucky. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, they come and pick us up with the trucks there. Get on the trucks, and on the bumpers they had AFRTC. Well, we figured Air Force Replacement Training Center. Come to find out, it was the Armored Force Replacement Training Center. Instead of airplanes, we were in tanks. That's where I went. I had to make the best of it. Some of them tried to get out, tried to get another outfit. They wouldn't let you out. You're there for good. And we did our basic training there. Fort Knox, Kentucky. Dusty. It was in the month of February, March. And I think it was the latter part of April where they told us we're leaving, we're going to another outfit. And we're going to a regular outfit. We still don't know we're in the Army, but now from there we get on the train again, and they take us to Pine Camp, New York. That's where we find out we're in the 4th Armored Division. So we're in the Armored Division, that's it. No, we do a certain amount of training up there and teach us different things and whatnot about armor. So I was up there in Pine Cap, New York, until September. This was now from April, the latter part of April to September. In September, we get word there we're going to maneuvers. So they maneuvers. So where we're going? Nobody knows. They don't tell you anything. They used to tell us a slip of the lip will sink a ship. And we packed up, the whole outfit there, packed up, and we wound up in Tennessee. In Tennessee, we were out in the field. Now, there's no barracks there, all pup tents. Everybody had, there was two to a pup tent. So I had found this, well, we made friends up in Pine Camp, New York. This Pete Patera from New York. And we worked together most of the time. So we made our pump tent, pitched our pump tent, and we slept together in that tent. Everybody was in this open field. And every morning they used to take us out for different maneuvers and whatnot. We were there for a month and a week, a month and 2 weeks, I think it was. And we get word we're going to move out. And where we're going, still nobody knows. Moving on. So the first sergeant, he passed word around. Anybody within the 50-mile radius will get a pass to go home. Now, a lot of them getting passes. I figured, who knows where we're going to go. I talked it over with Pete. I said, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know where we're going. I said, try to find out how long we're going to be here. So he went in the orderly room. He asked around. He said, they're going to be here about 10 days yet. So he said, all right. I said, you know what? I said, go in. I said, you look on the first sergeant's desk. He's got passes there. I said, get a couple of them. So that's what he did. He got 2 passes and he filled them out. We went to the train station, we got on the train, and we came home. He went to New York, I came home the first road. Now, in fact, it was during the hunting season, so my father was happy. He said, we'll go hunting. So we went hunting for about 7 days. Then I called Pete up. I told him, hey, I said, we better get back here. I said, you don't know what's going to happen. All right, he said, I'll be leaving tomorrow. He said, I'll meet you in Pennsylvania Station. I said, all right. So I think I had my brother drive me then to Philadelphia. And I met him there at Penn Station. We got on the train and we went back to Tennessee. When we went to Tennessee, we walked to where we were bivouacked. We don't see any tents there. We only see one tent. I told him, they must have left. I said, we get left, what the hell we're going to do here? So we got our tent, broke that tent down, wrapped it up. And who comes out there? The first sergeant. Where are you two been? We went home. He said, who told you could have went home? Well, we figured we were going our way, and we figured we didn't want to go back, and we figured we'd go home for a couple of days. He said, get your tent, put it on the truck, get on the kitchen truck. He said, you're going to load up the flat car. He said, all the kitchen utensils go in there. He said, you're going to have KP. He said, we're going to California. Well, I had no choice. I had KP. We got they had the regular sleeper cars, where they sleep in. So every morning I get up early, had to go to the car, the kitchen car, and we had KP. I remember one day they had the big door on a freight car, the big doors were washing the pot. Somehow or another it slept. See the roll out. So anyway, we did KP till we got to California. California, they brought us out to the Mojave Desert. Now, over there they had these proverbial tents set up, and we were 2, 4, I think we were 6 in a tent. We had cots. Well, after they got set up, the first thing I know, I got word the captain wants to see you, Scal. So I went in the early room to see the captain. I said, Private Scaltrito, you report as directed. He said you was missing for 3 days. He said, where'd you go? I told him, I went home. But actually, I was missing for 7 days. But they had me down for 3 days. Well, he said, okay. He said, you're getting on a truck. He said, they're going to make all places for kitchens where the water, and we had to go find rocks and bring rocks back. And I did that I don't know, 4 days, 5 days, they gave me for punishment. I did it. And we were set up. Now I'm in a machine gun squad. Now the machine gun squad, I did what I was supposed to do. Took my orders like I should have. Did what I was told. I got along pretty good. There was this buck sergeant from I'll never forget. He was from North Jersey. Sergeant McEwen, I'll never forget his name. For some unknown reason, either because we had taken off them days, my name was always in his mouth. He always was on me. Well, you take it for a while, after a while, it gets to you. One day, we walked out from the company. He brought us out about a half mile in the desert. Now they're teaching us how to take the machine gun apart. I'm sitting there like the whole platoon was there. So there's a part missing. The first thing I hear, Scally, go to the supply room and get this such and such part. I figured there's over 100 guys here with my name in his mouth. Oh, I did what I had to do. I went back. I got the part. I came back. So when we went back to the company again, he reported me to the captain. Captain calls me in again. Well, he said, what's the matter with you, Scaltrito? He said, you don't want to obey your sergeant? I said, no. I said, I obey the sergeant, I said. But I said, I can't figure out why there's over 100 soldiers there. I said, and he picks on me all the time. Well, he said, you're in the Army. He said, you got to do what your sergeant tells you. I said, yes, sir. I saluted him and walked out again. So this went on for a while. My name was always in his mouth. One day I couldn't take it anymore. I don't know where we were somewhere. I told him, Sergeant, I'm going to tell you something. I said, and listen to what I say. I said, we get overseas. I said, the first bullet's got your name on it. I said, don't you forget it. Well, we did the time in the desert. In the desert, they were treating us for the war in Africa then. The war was still going on in Africa. I was in a tank outfit, armor. It was tank, half tracks. And every morning they used to take us out. You go on hikes here. This one day, they took us out. And who's carrying the machine gun? Who's carrying the ammunition? Now, I'm in the machine gun squad. I'm carrying the tripod. That's the heaviest of them all. And I'm carrying that. So that had 3 legs. So you put one leg in the back and you put 2 legs over your shoulder and you walk. And we're coming through the desert. We come out to this road. I see this soldier out there, about 6 foot tall. And I'm looking. And it's General Patton. General Patton. We come out to the road. First thing he told the sergeant, Sergeant, he said, take that tripod off of that man and you carry it. That's the best thing I could have heard. So he came there and he took the tripod off me and I was walking without it. And I'll never forget that. I figured he was about 6 something tall, 2 pistols on the side, and he wore high boots. He was a big man. And after that, I remembered him for the rest of my life. Well,
Did you get punished for that?
no.
Oh.
No, they get punished. So, time went on. Time went on there, and we were there about 4 months, I guess, in the desert. The heat, daytime used to get about 120, 125. But at nighttime, it used to be cold. We used to sleep. I had to put a blanket over here, you know. Sleep. Oh. And Wednesdays, they used to give us off on Wednesdays, too. But we couldn't go lay down or do anything like that. We had to do some kind of sports. This one day, there was a group there, must have been about 20, 25 of us, and they were boxing. Well, I was no boxer, I never boxed. There was this one soldier that he was looking to make points, I guess, and he told the sergeant, he said, I'll take Scaltrito. I could take Scaltrito. Well, all right. I was watching boxing and he put the boxing gloves on. I figured he's just messing around, just playing. He gave me a shot, they made me see stars. I figured, well, if that's the way it's going to be, I'm going to do the same thing. It got to a point where he stopped. He didn't want to box with me anymore. Well, that was only one thing, one part. Then came time that we're going to move out from there. And they told us that from there we're moving out, we're going to Camp Hood, Texas. So they load up trains, boxcars and everything. And we go to Texas. Texas, more maneuvers. They had the red group, they had the blue group. And they used to send them out, and we had to get together and do certain things. And they used to, I'll tell you, in Camp Hood, don't go there in the summertime. The mosquitoes used to carry us away at nighttime. We stayed there for about a month, I think we were there. One day, one of the fellows came down here and said, Scaltrito, he said, First Sergeant wants to see you. I said, what did I do wrong now? So I went to the company commander there, went in, I saluted him. There was the first sergeant there. He turned around, he said, Scally, he said, from now on, you said you're going to be the driver for the company commander. I said, good. So I got out of the machine gun squad. Now I'm a driver. So I was with Captain Crosby. And any place he went, I drove. My job was every morning to go down to motor pool, clean the engine up. Over there, they used to go by with a finger and touch it. And if it was dirty, they gigged you. So, but I knew what the score was. Every morning I went down to motor pool. I'd take the battery cable off. I used to get gas and oil, do it all over the motor, then hit it with a hose. It makes it shine. Put the battery cable on there. I used to go to the orderly room there, sit outside. Once in a while they would inspect the Jeep. But I always passed. Now, we're there for a month. From there, then we get orders, they get orders, we're moving out. Moving out. We're going, all we know is going back east. Well, east we wind up in Camp Miles, Standish, Boston. There, all we did is we had nothing, hardly anything. And so then we got orders. They come out, they told us we're going overseas. So after we were there, I think it was about 7 days, 8 days. No, wait, I'm running ahead of myself. We were there a little longer than that. Because I pulled another stunt there. Now I hear we're going overseas. So, again, they're making people close by, they're getting passes. I figure, well, back in Jersey, I figure, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I got in touch with, who was it that time? I got in touch with another fellow. I said, what shall we do? I said, you're going to go home? I said, we're going overseas. I said. So I knew the sergeant. I wasn't good with the sergeant. I told him, I said, Sergeant, I said, if I leave here, I said, you can give me a call when they get the orders. He said, give me your phone number. I gave him a phone number. I went to the train station, jumped on a train, no ticket or anything. The conductor got and pulled me up. Sat to New York. From New York, I got another train, came back to Philly. From Philly, I hitched it most of the way, but then somebody picked me up. They took me home. And I stayed home for another 2 days, I think, 3 days. And then I went back. Everything was all right. After 2 days, we got orders to pack up. Now, pack up and get all our things together, duffel bags. And one morning, we get orders. They got orders. We're moving out. We see planes flying, the band is playing, and the ship is there. And we're climbing up the gangplank, going on the ship. Oh, they tell, some of the fellows, the sailors used to tell us, don't get on bottom bunk, because the guy gets sick up top. He pukes on you. So I figured I want to get the top bunk, so I did. I was down in D deck, where the ship comes like this, right to the point. And there was a little light like this on top with a screen around it. Oh, we left out that day, the band is playing, the airplanes are flying overhead, and everybody's happy, everybody's whistling, singing. Well, that night we got out, so everybody had their bunks where to go. So I got the top bunk. Well, I got up there, and that night, the ship was going like this, and that light was going like this. By next morning, I was sick as a dog. Well, what am I going to do? I can't move, so I stay there. Everybody was going out to eat in the morning for breakfast and everything. I stayed there. After 2 days, 3 days, I think it was, we're on a ship. Now I'm sick. Can't keep my eyes open anymore. So I couldn't stay up there anymore. So underneath the stairway, they had all the duffel bags over there. So I figured I'll lay on the duffel bags. That's what I did. Next morning, there's a captain and the captain of the ship. They're inspecting the decks. And they come down to one side. In fact, they came over me, they never saw me. They going up on the other stairway. They spotted me there. And he said, soldier, he said, do you know if we get hit by a German sub, what will happen? I said, sir, the way I feel now, I'll go down with the ship. That's what happened. So, a couple of guys, they came down after 2 days, I think it was. They came down and they brought me on top. First they came down, 2 medics came down, they gave me a capsule. I told them, it's useless. I said, well, throw it out. You have to take it. I took it. No sooner I took it, that's where it landed back out again. They left, and then 2 other fellows came down, 2 husky guys. They carried me up on top deck. The sun was shining out there. And one of the fellows, they bought me some fig bars and a Coke. You know, I ate the fig bars and Coke, and that was all right. But I never went down D-deck no more. Because that night when I tried to go down, as soon as I got down to first, everything started to spin. So I got the captain, I told him, I said, I can't go down there no more. I said, I'm going to have to stay on top deck. Up top deck, there was like a little cabin there. They said, all right, as long as there ain't no smoking up there. I said, no, sir. I said, no smoking. I stayed up there. I had my my sleeping bag up there. And I stayed there. But it happened to be luck for me because on the side, that's where the kitchen was. And they had Chinese cooks there. Every morning I'd go knock on the window, and one of the Chinese cooks there and make me a couple eggs or either whatever it was, and they give me a slice of lemon. And eat the lemon, I don't know, that did something to it. But I was all right till we got overseas. We got overseas. We got to England. Well, you know, so a bunch of soldiers, when you get there, we got to England, they docked. Now we're up, must have been about 4 stories, 5 stories, I don't know, it was pretty high. They had the bobbies there. The bobbies are there, over there they call them bobbies. Over here they're cops. And there must have been about 4 or 5 of them there waving. A couple of the guys told me, you want eggs? Yeah. I got eggs. They used to throw eggs. I used to try to catch them. I couldn't catch them. I used to, well, anyway. Then we got off of the ship, and they brought us to a town in England by the name of Devizes. Oh, and there was a camp here. We were in barracks. And we stayed there from January until January, February, March, and until they started, the invasion started. But now the captain I was with, I used to drive. He was about 2 years older than me. He was a very intelligent man, but he got a liking to me for some unknown reason. And he's Scally, he used to call me Scally. Well, I still remember the first day of the invasion. He said, Scally, he said, you want to take a ride? He said, I want to go see if we get on a plane. He said, we'll take a ride in one of the bombers. He said, over to France. He said, we'll come back. I told him, well, I said, if you're willing, I'll go with you. But they never gave him the clearing. So, anyway, we were there until D-Day. Well, not D-Day. Of course, D-Day happened, and we were still in England. And then they moved us from Devizes. They moved us up. Well, in England, we used to go in town over there. The biggest thing there was fish and chips. And we used to go in town and get beer there and fish and chips and go back to camp. Then from there they moved us to Hammonton, England. Now they get ready for embarkation. Anyway, the war had started, D-Day started, and we were still in England yet. And then we got word we're going to load up the LSTs and we're moving out. And this all happened at nighttime. From Hammonton, we were close to the English Channel. And that's where we loaded on the LSTs. And the soldiers and vehicles and everything. And when I was in England, all the vehicles had to have Cosmoline on them. Where the exhaust was, we had to put another extension to extend over the drivers. In other words, you're sitting like this, you're driving, and that had to extend over the top. So I drove my Jeep onto the LST, and this was all in the dark. And we're sailing. All I know, everything is dark. We're in a cubby hole there. The guys are shooting crap. And I'm just looking. Now, they said that the English Channel is supposed to be rough, from what they used to say, but that night we went over, well, good. Well, by next morning, we're at the coast. Now, the infantry already had pushed in about 30 miles into France. Now, the armor, we landed D plus 30 because on account of the armor had to have where they get off. In other words, they couldn't sink. They had to have solid ground to get on. So that's why we landed D plus 30. When I got off of the LST, I know they only got so far, and then I guess they couldn't go any further. The front went down, and that's where everybody got off. The soldiers got off on foot, me, I had to drive off. When I drove off in water, and I was up in water up to here. And I drove off, and I followed the rest. And they had made an entryway already for where we were supposed to climb on there, drive on. And we did. We followed. We had orders. And we followed. And we drove that day. We got in France. We drove in about 20 miles. And then we stopped. They stopped. And they told us that we were going to relieve the 35th Infantry Division, I think it was. So the infantry moved out and we moved in. I know the first night we set up in the apple orchard there in France. So we set up and we had outposts. You were here, you were here, you there. And that night they gave me guard duty. Now there's all hedgerows all around. That part of France was a lot of hedgerows. So Lieutenant Ziegler that night, he told me, Scally, he said, you're pulling the first guard here. He said, and he said, you got to listen. He said, the Germans are sneaking through the lines, he said. And he said, be careful. He said, in case you hear anything, he said, you ask them for the password. If they don't give you the password, shoot. So, now I'm out there, everybody's sleeping in the tents. And I put my back up against a tree. I figured I'm up against the tree. You know, it's hard to see if you're a tree or a person standing. I'm standing there. Pretty soon I hear walking through the field. I holler, halt. I asked him for the password. He didn't give me a password. I had to holler, halt again. No password. I opened up with the Tommy gun. Oh, Lieutenant Sieva came out. He said, what's the matter, Scally? What happened? I told him somebody coming through the field. I said, I opened up. So it was one of the fellows, yeah, he had found a place where they had, what do they call it, make it out of apples, apple cider.
I'm a little stronger than apple cider.
He had went out, and he's coming home he's coming back through the field. And he was a half-track driver, and they broke him down to PFC the next day. So that was that. So we stayed there maybe 10 days, I guess we were there. Then they came around, we were going to get orders to move, and there's planes coming over from England that were going to break down the perimeter where the Germans are, and they're going to bomb it. So it was about 10 o'clock that morning. Here's bombers coming over. There was B-17s, B-24s, B-26s. There must have been about 150 bombers come over. And we were watching them. Well, from where we were, they must have went up about 10 miles, I guess. You couldn't tell. And we watched the first plane drop the flare, smoke. And after that,
The ground shook.
the ground was shaking under our feet.
And you said, what the hell am I doing here?
So I figured, well, this was it. Now, after the bombers left, we got orders, we're going to move out the next morning, and we're moving out, we're on the move. And you're going through hedgerows, and there for a while, the tanks, they had a hard time, but then somebody got a rainstorm and they put these, like a plow in front of a tank. They welded them on, and they used to break right through the hedgerows. And they used to be Germans. They'd be shooting at you from all directions. You didn't know where they were at. But we're moving on. Well,
Did you shoot anyone, Mr. Scaltrito?
did I? I might have shot a few, half a dozen, I guess, or so. I don't know. I'd see him run, I'd shoot. Because they used to tell us, either you shoot or you get shot. No.
Did you feel bad about shooting them?
No. No. That's it. That's in you then. It's like hunting rabbits. You see a rabbit, you pick it up, you shoot. That's the God's honest truth. It's put in you. And they used to tell us, either you shoot or you get shot. Now, you're moving along, you see a vehicle, German vehicle, or you open the gun and you start shooting. You don't worry about it's a person. That's what we're told. It's what we do. So, anyway, we moved on through France, and we met resistance here and there, but General Patton, he was an intelligent man. He had the idea, if you push fast enough, you get behind the lines, and then you fan out and you form pockets, and you get all these enemies. You capture all the enemy, and that's what he was doing. They used to make a spirit line. They used to maybe push 10 miles, 15 miles, and then they sent out to the side, and any soldiers, German soldiers trying to retreat, they were caught. They couldn't go any further. Well, moving through France, the beginning of France, we started from St. Lo, France, and Saint-Nazaire, and I was with combat headquarters. I was with Captain Crosby. I was driving for him. There was Colonel Jakes. He was a battalion commander, and Colonel Jakes was in charge of Combat Command A. Well, we moved on. We were in southern France, southern part of France. It was nice there in France. It was warm. And the southern part of France, through Vannes, France, and through there, was nice. Then Pat sent word to the general. He said that's when the Germans had broke through the Ardennes, when they captured, I think it was the 9th Armored, and up there the 12th Armored, or 12th Division, up in Bastogne. And we drove from Vannes, France, a little over 100 miles to get up there. And it was nice and warm down there. When we got up there, it was cold. Because I remember going there, of course, you get tanks, so you get 50, 60 tanks, so you get half tracks, so you get jeeps, and you go down the road. Of course, the soldiers, they used to ride on the half tracks. And you get down the road, you can't go 20 miles an hour. You're crawling 5 miles an hour. And I remember it was so cold, my hands had got so cold that I told the captain, he was sitting alongside of me, I said, Captain, I'm going to get out and walk for a little while. He said, how you going to do that? I said, I'll show you. So I got out, and with one hand I was steering, and I was walking, just trying to stay warm. Well, and then I got back in the Pete, and we got to Bastogne. Now, Bastogne, we got there, they told us, be careful here because the Germans have white capes on them. You can't see them. And they'll be shooting at you and you don't know where it's coming from. So we're going down the road and there's gunfire. This direction, that direction. You stop to get off and you try to figure out where it's coming from. And pretty soon you hear where it's coming from. You have the tanks open up with machine guns. And the Germans would get up, put their hands up, then surrender. And they'd come out. They had these white capes on. You couldn't see them lying in the snow. You couldn't see them. Anyway, that night we moved on to Bastogne. That night I'll never forget. We stopped. So it was cold. I figured I saw a barn there. I figured, well, I told the captain, I said, where you going to stay? I said, I'm going to go in that barn. I said, if there's hay, I'm going to get the hay there. Well, he said, Scally, he said, don't go too far. He said, I went to the barn. And there was, sure enough, there was hay there. So, hay, I look and there's a dead horse there. Well, anyway, the dead horse didn't bother me. I got in the hay there and I tried staying there for the night, tried to stay warm. Next morning early, I went out, met the captain. We're moving on again. And we're moving on to Bastogne. We get within a couple miles and we started receiving artillery fire. Well, artillery fire, you could hear it coming. Shells, you know, when they fire, they whistle. And they're whistling. If they're going over, you could hear the whistle. If you hear them fluttering, you know they're going to drop, so hit the ground. And anyway, the only part that's bad about artillery shells is when they do them what they call air bursts. They come over about 20 feet off of the ground, maybe 25, 30 feet, and they burst. And when they burst, there's shrapnel comes out like an umbrella. And if you're in the vicinity, you get hit, that's it, and your number's up. Well, anyway, I was lucky enough. I used to hear him go over, and I used to tell the captain, I said, Captain, they're going over. He'll whistle it. I said, let's keep going forward. The closer we get, the further back they'll be shooting. And that's what we did. The column went up, and we got Bastogne. There was 2 feet of snow. We got Bastogne. Now, it was pretty quiet there because the Germans were on the right flank. And there was, I think it was the 9th Armored there that had surrounded. So that night they told us, everybody be on the alert. You don't know when Germans are going to come through. They're going to sneak through. So I told the captain that night, I said, Captain, I said, there's a home over there. I said, I'm going to go over there. I said, you'll be over here. I said, I'll be over there. He said, okay. He said, but be ready. Now the house had been, the front door was knocked down and a couple windows out. But I figured I'm out of the snow, I'm inside. So I tried laying down there. I used to have trouble with my shoes. My feet always used to get cold. So I used to try to loosen my boots up and keep my feet where I could wiggle my toes. At night about 12 o'clock, something like that, we hear planes, and pretty soon it was like daylight. Germans come over, German bombers, and they drop flares. Now these flares, when they drop them, they light up the sky like daylight. And they started dropping bombs. So I ran out to my Jeep. I had in England, when I was in England, I had the motor pool sergeant. I told him, I said, mount a pedestal on my Jeep in the front. I said, I'm going to put a machine gun on there. I'm going to mount an air-cooled machine gun. So he did. So I had a machine gun mounted right between me and the captain, right on a pedestal there. Stood about this high. I had a air-cooled 30 caliber. Now that night, and I had a box of ammo right alongside of it. And when you fire the gun, it takes its own ammunition. You don't have to feed it because you got the can alongside of the box with the shells in it. They're on a belt. So you pull back the bolt and you open up. And that night we're all opened up, shooting up in the air, trying to hit the planes. You couldn't see them, but you could hear the engines. And all you could see, every fourth shell was a tracer. A tracer, when it's fired, you could see it. As soon as it leaves the gun, you could see it going through the sky. It gets red. And that's all you could see that night. Tracers in the sky, in all directions. Anyway, they strafed there about 10 minutes, I think it was, and they took off. So the next morning, everybody was got together. Nobody was wounded or anything like that. And that was the Battle of the Bulge. So, well, the Battle of the Bulge, Joe, it happened that the way it broke through, that it was so foggy there, it was cold, and there used to be like a mist, like they get over here sometimes in the wintertime. And the planes couldn't come over, they couldn't see. And that night, that day, that morning, unknown reason, the sky started breaking certain spots, and they called in for the P-47s to come in. When we used to see the P-47s, we were in heaven. They used to do a lot of good for us. They used to come in. They used to drop down to maybe 150 feet. They'd strafe, bomb. They used to carry a 500-pound bomb, and then they'd take off. And that morning, that's when they finally broke through. That they opened up, and then we left Bastogne. And then the war started. Well, the war started, the war was on, but I mean the war started when we started moving through Germany then. Now, we're moving through Metz. Of course, we're not on the move all the time. You move sometimes, then maybe every 2 weeks they give you 2 or 3 days rest. In other words, they had combat A, combat B, combat C, and 2 weeks like combat A, combat B is doing the fighting, combat A is in the rear, then the other two come up, then they send the other back, and they give you a chance to rest a little bit. Not that you're going to stay there, you're moving with them, but they're up ahead, you're a little bit behind. Now, we're moving through Germany. We came to Metz. I remember Metz. Metz, we got there, I think it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We got there, and they wanted to push on, and then the Germans, they opened up with it wasn't artillery fire, it was
I can't help you out.
I know you. I can't think of it. Tube. There used to be tube. They used to mortar shells.
Water shell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, they used to have, their motor shells were about this long, and they had the shell on the bottom. All you did, you drop it in there, and they hit the bottom, and they used to go up. And they started shooting motor shells at us, and we had to pull back. So we pulled back for the night, and then they opened fire. Our outfit opened fire with the artillery. And they pushed the Germans back, and the next day we moved on. And then the next day we spent there in Metz, Metz, and we stayed there one day, of course, and one day went by, and then the next day we moved on again. We're moving on, we're moving on. The next place I remember was, we got to Nancy, France. Nancy, France, and, well, we're moving on. Nancy, France, we had got near Bitburg, and they're setting up the CP command post for the night. So they found this house, big house there. It was big stone on the outside. So the captain said this would be a good CP, a good command post for the night. So we'll stay here for the night. So everybody, they got off. And they brought all the radio, some of the radio equipment in the house and everything. And we figured, well, we'll stay there for the night. We have shelter. Well, now it was in the afternoon. And we were like on the side of a little hill there. I guess the Germans must have been maybe a mile or two away, and they probably was watching us. So that night we were figuring, well, we're going to stay here tonight. We're sleeping here. Well, it happened about 6 o'clock at night, I guess it was 6 o'clock. The first thing, a shell. They used to have this delayed action fuses. They used to fire these artillery shells, and they used to come through the wall, and they wouldn't go off until they came on the inside. And that shell exploded inside. It came in. I remember I was there. I was talking with a radio sergeant. I was talking with him, and the shell went off. Captain Volz wasn't there. He got both his legs knocked off. Supply sergeant got killed, and I had shrapnel wounds on me. So they called the ambulance, and they took us on the ambulance, and that's when I went back. They took me back to Nancy, France. That's where the hospital was. Well, it wasn't quite Nancy, France. It was a couple miles outside. So I was in the hospital there for 7 days. With this other fellow. So we're in the hospital, doing nothing here. I told this fellow, I said, you know what? I said, the war's going on. I said, let's go back. So we got together that day and we went back. We went back to Nancy, France. It was about 4 miles from there. And over there I had met these French people, Tang guy. I went there, and I spent the day there. I spent the night there. On the radio, you could hear that the Americans were advancing. I figured, the war's going to be over pretty soon. I told the fellow, I said, you know what? I said, we better take off tomorrow. So there was a trucking outfit. In the trucking outfit, they had all the colored soldiers there driving. So we went there that night. We asked him where he's going tomorrow morning. We're going up to the front. We want to take a ride with you. He said, okay. So we slept in barracks with them that night. What a lot of fun that was. So anyway, the next morning we got out. We got on the trucks, and they brought us up to within about 4 miles of the front. And that's where we got off. And I asked where the company CP was, and that's what I did. I walked there, the orderly room was there, I walked in, I saluted, I said, "Captain, I'm back." He said, "Goodbye." No, I told him, I said, I know it wasn't, but I told him, I said, "You know, Captain," I said, "I couldn't stay in that hospital anymore." I said, "So we figured I'd come out to the front." Good boy, Scally." He said, "Good boy." Oh, and I was driving with him again. And the war continued on from there. And
Did you see the concentration camps?
we went through the 3 concentration camps. And I'm telling you, I have pictures of them. There should be pictures of them. That you see those dead people there, and men. All you could see is actually the bones on them, and how they stayed alive, I don't know. And they were so happy when we broke through the fence, and we let them out. I don't know where they were going to go, but we let them out. And we broke through 3 concentration camps there. And now it's getting towards the latter part of the war. So,
So you're on your way home?
well, not quite. Not quite. We're still moving on, and we hear that the war is going to end in a matter of time. So I got as far as Volín, Czechoslovakia. And that's when we heard that they had signed, Roosevelt, I think had signed peace with the Germans, had surrendered. And I spent that night, I think I spent 2 nights there in Czechoslovakia, in Volín. And while I was there, I learned one word, "Dober nuts." I didn't know what it meant. Good night. Well, while we were there, they had put us they had found a big hall so we could sleep. They brought in straw from somewheres. Well, you try and get on straw, it was full of
Bugs of some kind? Mites? Or
what do you call them?
Please.
Fleas,
Oh,
full of
fleas.
fleas. You couldn't sleep. So that night, I left it. I went across the street and I found there was a home there. I knocked on the door. I said, "Could I spend the night here?" "Oh, yes," they said. Oh, they gave me a room there to stay. I slept there that night. And the next morning I went back again, and we got ready to move out. We're moving out. Now we got orders. No, we got orders. They got orders. The company got orders that we're moving back to Germany, and we're the 4th Armored Division. They've made as Army of Occupation, and we're going back to Landshut, Germany. So we got all our vehicles, we got all our equipment, and we pulled out, and we went back to Germany. We went back to Germany. They had us, were set up over there, and Dad told us if any of you could find a room to stay, if somebody wants to let you in, they want to keep it, to do it. But at the same time, they told us, don't fraternize with the German barrels. No.
You knew that.
So we were there, I guess I was there maybe a month. I don't recall. I was there because I know every night we all got together, the company commander, all the soldiers, and the Germans, they had a place there like a big hill. It was all dirt, but up front they had doors, was open. They used to keep the beer there. Well, you never tasted so good beer like they had there. At nighttime, we used to go get a hat, and we used to get together there, all the fellas, and we used to drink. Well, after a few weeks, I guess, maybe a month was there, one day, the captain called me in. He sent word to go there. I said, what is it, sir? I said, you sent for me. He said, Scally, you got word came down from the headquarters that you're going home. I said, going home? I said, could it be possible? Yes. He said, here's the orders. I said, sir, I said, I told him.
You wanted to go, but you didn't.
I said, we've been through so much together. I said, we've got out of so many tight spots, I said. When the outfit goes, I said, when you go home, I said, we'll all go home together. He said, Scally, he said, you know the way our Army operates. He said, you got the chance to go home. He said, take it. I told him, if that's your wish, that's what I'll do. So, they got all my things together. And 2 days later, I left. And the morning I left, I'd never forget, I'll remember this as long as I live. He wrote out a check for $100. He gave me a check for $100.
About that. Did you ever see him again after you got home?
Yes. When I got home, I went to, well, he stayed there. And then when the Army came home, the 4th Army came home, I heard that he got in touch with me, and he had a place in New York. And I went there to visit him. And I visited him there, and he had told me, he said, he was in some kind of business there. I don't know if he had the cars there or something. He said, hey, he said, Scally, he said, you want a job? He said, in a week or so, he said, think it over. He said, I'll give you a job over here. He said, you can stay here. I said, okay, sir. I said, I'll go home and think about it. Well, I went home. I was never, one to leave the town or go anywhere. I figured, well, I'm home. I'm going to stay home. Anyway, about a month later, he calls me up again. Now he's in Franconia, New Hampshire. He had bought a home there in Franconia. And he called me, he said, Scally, he said, I'm over here. He said, if you want to come up to visit, he said. And then he told me he used to go to Florida, I think. They used to go to Florida, and he used to come by Atlantic City. And I told him, I said, you come by Atlantic City. I told him, I'm only a stone throw away. I said, stop in and visit me. Well, he never did, but anyway, I made up my mind one day. It was during the summertime. I remember blueberries during the summertime. And I left here. I bought a crate of blueberries. I said, well, I'm going to Franconia today. We're going to Franconia. And I took off, and I went. I found the place. It was like on the side of a, I don't know, mountain. It was hilly there anyway. Yeah, he had bought this big home here. And he had left his wife, and he had married, well, this was another story I did say.
I was going to remind you about that story. You have to tell that story.
Well, this was when we were back in we're still in France yet. And we're in, I forget the name of the town now. Well, anyway, that night, the officers used to get together. They used to have parties. So, what am I, it was cold there. It was up in,
It's okay, we don't know.
well,
The story's more interesting.
And, that night, all the officers had got together and they were going to have a big party. He said, Scally, he said, you're going to drive me there tonight. He said, you wait for me. He said, then drive me back. I said, okay. Cold as the son of a gun. I put this heavy coat on. So I drove him there. I went in for a while. And they're all officers, captains, lieutenants, second lieutenants. And even once in a while, they would get in a fight amongst themselves. Well, anyway, now, he stayed there for a couple hours. Then he told me, he said, Scally, you know what? He had met this nurse in France. And he said, it was the 12th evacuation hospital. He said, Scally, he said, I want you to drive me there tonight. I said, okay, sir. I said, you want me to drive? I'll drive you there. So I drove him there that night. He said, in about 2 hours, he said, to come back after me. I said, okay, sir. So, in the meantime, he had talked about, he wanted a trailer. He was looking for a trailer. I said, sir, I said, if I ever come across one, I said, I'll get it for you. I'll get it. So that night I drove him to the hospital, to the hospital there where the nurse was. And he got off, he went inside there. So, what do I have to do? I have to ride around. I'm riding around. I'm riding around. There's a building there, and I see the trailer. I said, just what we're looking for. So, I went back. It was time. I went back. Now he's waiting outside. He's talking with the nurse there. He's talking with her. I told him, Captain, I want you to stay here for about another 15 minutes. I said, I'll be back. I said, I found something. He said, you did? Yeah, I said, I found something you was looking for. He said, you're going to need help? No, I said, I won't need no help. I said, I'll manage. So I drove back to where this building was. I see this trailer there. I hook up the trailer and I take off. I take off. He's waiting. I said, let's go, Captain. I said, we're on our way. He said, where'd you get this at? I said, I found it. Now, we get back to our place where we were staying. Next morning, I get up. I go look at the trailer. On a bumper, I see letters, and then I see a cross. It was Chaplin's trailer. I said, now what did I do? So I went back and I told Captain, I said, you know what? I said, I got the Chaplin's trailer. He said, what are you going to do now, Scally? I said, well, I can't bring it back. I said, I'm going to talk to the sergeant down the motor pool. I said, I'm going to let him paint over it. So what the sergeant did was green paint painted over, and we had a trailer. I used to carry all the captain's belongings, I used to carry all mine on there. I don't know how many cases of champagne that I used to carry on there. Plus, I had about 17 cartons of cigarettes. Of course, cigarettes those days, they used to give them to us by the carton. Then we used to get rations, cigarettes in them. And you smoke. I smoked as high 3 packs a day. You have nothing to do. You're riding down the road. You don't know when you're going to get hit by a mine, because once in a while you see a Jeep blown up, and you figure I could be next. And in the Jeep I had put sandbags in there. I figured that helped to protect some of the blast. And I told the captain, I said, well, I rigged it up this way. I said, I don't know how much you'll help us. I said, but. So I had the mess sergeant. He wondered, Mess sergeant always wanted to make points with the captain. I told him, if you make points, I said, you ride in the back. I said, you ride with me. So I said, you know what? I said, you drive. So yeah, I used to make him drive. I used to walk. If he gets blown up, I said, you'll get blown up. So that's what we did, and went on.
Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead. No questions. Did you hear how many questions I asked him? None.
You could ask.
I know, but I didn't need to. You told me. Can you tell me what the medals were that you got when you come home?
I got, well, this is for bravery. In France, the captain, he was young. He was young like me, and he had a lot of vigor in him. He always wanted action. He wanted to see action. Oh, he told me this one day. He said, "Scally," he said, "let's go up in the front." He said, "Let's get up there with the reconnaissance to go up front." I told him, "Okay, sir." I stepped on the gas. We passed the tanks and everything. We got up front. Well, we're coming to the edge of this town. There's a town there. It's in the citation. We come to the edge of this town. We're going down the road. I got the 30 caliber machine gun mounted right over here, and it's ready to go. All you had to do is pull the bolt back and hit the trigger. We're coming down the road. We entered this little town. The road was just like a two-vehicle road. That's all. It wasn't wide. It was narrow. And all of a sudden I hear, pow! One shot, like an air go right by me. I told the captain, I said, "You know what?" I said, "They're shooting at us." So the first thing that came into my mind, the road was a little high. There was a little drop. I pulled over to the side. I got it under there, and I pointed the gun towards where the opening was, and I opened up for the machine gun. And I knocked out a self-propelled gun that they were shooting down the road. And that's one citation that he gave me for bravery. Another one was because we got in this town, and we got in this town. Now the captain got on foot. He told me, he said, "Scally, you bring up the Jeep." I said, "Okay, sir." So I watched which way he went. So then there was another fellow in there, and I asked him, he went across the road, but then I didn't see which way he went. So this other fellow was over there in this building. I said, which way you go? Which way are you going? He said, "I'm going to the outfit." I said, "I'm going to come along with you." So he ran across the road. And I figured, well, of course, over there, the Germans, they would stay in cellars, in buildings. And the Germans would shoot at you, the soldier, the snipers. So he ran across the road. I figured, I'm going to run. So I started running, got about halfway. Pow, one shot. And I felt the thing hit right there with my feet. I turned around and ran back to the building. And I went in the building. In the meantime, tanks were close by. And I told the tank, I said, in that house over there facing this way, I said, there's got to be a sniper in there. I said, I just got shot at. So he opened up with a 75, the howitzer, and he blasted the house. The guy was down the cellar, shooting out the cellar window. And that's where he got left. Well, that was one. Another time, we're going down the road, and the lead tank is up front. It hits a mine. Now, the tanks, as soon as they hit a mine, the first thing it wouldn't hurt the armor or nothing, it would knock the track off. So the tank got left on the side. Now, this Company A is off to the left of us, and they had lost contact with them. Well, I'm trying on the radio. I got a radio. I'm trying to contact Company A. Can't get in touch with them. So the captain said, he said, I don't know what we're going to do. He said, we can't get in touch. We can't get radio communication. I turned around and told him, sir, I said, you know what? I said, I'll go there. I said, I'll find him. No, he said, okay, Scally. So I started down the road. There was a little bridge I had to cross. As soon as I got to the bridge, they started shooting at me. Well, I managed to get across on my belly, hands and knees. And I got out to Company A, and I told Company A where we were to make contact. And they found out where they were firing from us, and the tanks opened up and they knocked them out, and the road was clear. And I went back to the captain. And there were things I would do. I don't know. I was home. I never got to go anywhere. I used to go hunting, but other than that, I mean, I had, for me to have, say, guts to do something, never bothered on it. But there, I don't know, I'd seen you, I guess, and I went and did that. Then for that, something like that, you get awards for it. Not that I did it for an award, because I'm not looking for any awards. I was looking to save my life. But anyway.
Bill, where are you, Bill?
Right here.
You have no questions, Bill?
D plus 30. Was that D plus 30 hours or D plus 30 days?
30 days.
Pardon?
D plus 30.
D plus 30 days.
Okay.
30 days. It wasn't 30 hours, it was 30 days. That was on account of the tanks. Tanks, all heavy armor. I was in the armored outfit, 4th Armored Division. And the tanks had to, not to bog down, they had to make sure that the engineers had made roads for them so they could go up. You know, the side, Germany, where they must have been about 20 feet high. There was the side there where they could come out to the channel. And that's where they had bunkers. The Germans had bunkers there. That's where they used to shoot at us. They had bunkers there out of concrete. I managed to walk in one of them after we got through there, and you'd be surprised the way they were made. Even American bombs wouldn't break them.
That's right. And just one other about the graciousness of the French people that we're so thankful.
Oh, coming to France, I didn't say this because coming to France, when we come to France, naturally, you're in France now, we're moved through, we're starting to liberate the towns and cities, and the people, they're happy. The French people, they're tickled pink to see us. The girls over there, they used to jump on the jeeps, all with a hug and kiss you. Nighttime. But daytime, like day we weren't on the move, the kids would come out. They'd go, cigarette for papa, chocolate for mama. They wanted cigarettes for the fathers, and they wanted chocolate for the mothers. So we used to have this chocolate with us. What they had, what they call them?
Energy bars?
No, they were like chocolate, but they were hard bars. They used to keep us, we chewed on them all day, keep us going. But the French people, they're very, very happy to see us. They would give us anything. They would give us anything.
And on your trip home, were you on ship then? And
My trip home, the trip home, when I was told by the captain that I had got orders from the headquarters that I was to come home, at that time they were flying all the soldiers home on the 17s, B-17s. I figured, well, B-17, I'm good. I won't get sick. So, when I got to the port of embarkation, they had to discontinue that, and there was a ship there, and I had to get on the ship. And I came home by ship. But believe it or not, coming home by ship, I only got sick one day, that I stayed in a cot and didn't get up. But other than that, everybody was out, and everybody was happy. And most of the GIs were shooting dice. And who was thinking about anything else? Everybody was thinking about coming home.
did your outfit have any reunions over the years?
We had, that I went to, we had one reunion in Atlantic City. Back in, I don't remember, it's been so long. And that's the only one I went to. They had another out west somewhere, but I never went to it. And I keep looking, I get the magazine now. And on there they have different outfits where they had reunions. And I look on there, but I never see the 4th Armored Division or the 53rd Armored Infantry.
And how about Captain Crosby? Is he still with us?
No, he passed away. He was one fine man.
I had asked Mr. Scaltrito at the end of our interview that day, and it wasn't on tape, what he thought of the war today.
I'll give you my honest opinion. I know we're all grown men here. There's women here, there's children. Today, the war they're fighting in today is a useless war the way they're fighting it. In Germany, they came over with 100 bombers, they demolished the whole city, and they moved on. Over here, they're killing soldiers are getting killed every day, and you never know who they're shooting at, who they're fighting. What they should do, the way I would do it, if I had anything to do with it tomorrow, I would get there and I'd tell them, load up 100 bombers, go over the place one day, and tell them either they surrender, give up, meet at a certain place, or either the next day we're going to wipe you out.
Amen.
And the war would be over in a week's time. It would be over. Yes, because these people, they don't care for life. They'll shoot you in the back. You can turn around and they'll shoot you. And then you don't know who you're shooting at. You don't know. Over there, they had uniforms. Germans had uniforms. You saw one, you know he was a soldier, you shoot at him. You shoot at you. But over here, what's going on? A lot of men a lot of young boys getting killed. I say for no reason at all. No reason at all. All you'd have to do is load up 100 bombers, fly them over one day, don't drop nothing, drop leaflets, and tell them either tomorrow he's meeting in a certain place, or you want to wipe his out. And they would have no choice. In Germany, they didn't drop any leaflets. Women, children, they all got killed. You see big cities here, like New York, Philadelphia, they're demolished. They're demolished. They've come over with 100 bombers. They had the B-17s, they had the B-24s, they had the A-26s. They used to come over. They used to open the bomb bays, and all you could hear is rattling. Over there, big cities, they're demolished. When I tell you they were demolished, they're demolished. Big buildings. All you'd see frames sticking up. There was nothing left. A lot of people got killed there. A lot of women, a lot of children. Yeah, over there in Germany, they even had kids, 14-year-old kids, fighting. One day, I'll go back a little bit. One day, we're driving down the road, doing combat,
I got the captain sitting alongside of me. There's artillery going off, and we're just crawling along. And I've stopped alongside of the road, and we're watching. I happened to turn on the side. There's a guy with a bazooka aiming at us. I told the captain, I said, jump, jump. I said, you're gonna get shot, jump. Sure enough, was a young kid, about 14 years old. He didn't have guts enough to shoot at us. If not, I'd have never been here today. I'd have been minced. Your bazooka, you get hit by that, forget it. So, I tell you, the Germans were fanatics too, to a certain part, some of them. I don't know if there's any Germans here, I don't want to insult them. But to a certain part, you get the guys on the tanks. On the tanks, they didn't care. If they see you running down the road, they'd shoot at you. They'd waste artillery shell to shoot at you. And they used to have, they came out with the tanks, they had the, what they call them?
Tigers.
I don't know. Anyway, they come out with a new gun. Then they used to.
88?
What?
88?
I think it was the 88. Yeah. That they come out with a was like a tank destroyer. They had the 88s on them. Man, them things. As soon as they pull the trigger, that thing would hear pow, woo, and you'd hear a whistle. They'd shoot at you if you were 50 feet away. They'd shoot at you. I tell you, the reason why I'm here today, it's the man upstairs, I think, watched over me, because I was in a lot of tight spots. When I say tight, tight. One day we had artillery falling all around us, and I'm driving. And the captain kept saying, speed up, Scally, speed up. How you speed up? You don't know if you're going to run into a shell. So I'm trying to zigzag. I'm trying to look where the shells are falling. Another day, we're going down the road. Now, there's a tank in front of me. I'm following the tank. I'm sitting here, the captain's sitting alongside of me. Pretty soon, we're going down this road, fire coming from the right side of the road. You got they shoot anti-aircraft shells at us. And that's the day when I told the captain, I said, I want to step on it and get alongside of the tank. Well, that's what I did. I started to step on it. Now the tank, I don't know why, the shells were hitting the tank, but the anti-aircraft shells would not penetrate heavy armor. They would hit the tank. They'd make that noise. But the guys inside, I guess, are getting scared, and they stepped on them. So I drove up. I was behind the tank. So I told the captain, I said, I want to drive alongside of the tank. We'll move up with it. I got about here. The guy stepped on it. We got left behind, and we got hit by an anti-aircraft gun right on the side, and it chewed up part of his hand, and it knocked out the radio. My radio. And then from there, of course, he went to the hospital. He was in the hospital for 10 days, I guess.
Do we have any other veterans here that were in that war, World War II? Just raise your hand. I know Bob was in. Thank you. We have one more thing. Joanne has something she wants to show you. Bring it up, Jim.
And Mary Jo, can I just say this? That,
Yes.
before we complete, just on behalf of everybody here, Mr. Scaltrito, we want to thank you for your service to the country.
Thank you.